Greetings, River Lady here, and this is, I am so sorry, the long-awaited sequel to my video on my hydrangea blossoms. Back in June, I had done a video showing you the potential flowers I was going to have by videotaping the buds I had on my plants. And then summer hit like a beast with incredibly hot weather, high humidity, which hydrangeas are not big humidity fans, lack of water because of a drought, and just a beastly summer, as many of you know. Anyway, it's the last weekend of August, and I'm here to show you what I got as blossoms by showing you the spent blossoms, showing you some new blossoms that I'm getting, like here on my Nantucket Blue. She has some gorgeous new blossoms for me, and I'm going to do this video in two parts because I think it's going to run a little long. But before we get started, I do want to show you what I get to look at when I'm out gardening. My great blue heron. Isn't that cool? All right, let's get going. Okay, so let's start with my Big Daddy. He had a pretty good season this year. This is what he looked like when he was in full bloom. As you can see, I had a lot of blossoms. And if I come in close without tripping over the tripod, you can see the spent blossoms. I love the shabby chic look that the blossoms get when they start to age. Here I have a new blossom, and then I also have some buds. So he's going to give me another wave of blossoms. But he really did a nice job blooming. You can see how large these blossoms were. He is just a wonderful plant. Always blooms right on cue. Now, when it comes to deadheading your hydrangeas, August is not the time to deadhead them, because August is when the plants start to set their buds for the coming blooming season. And if we come in here, you can actually see the buds that he is setting for me. You can see them right down there. And here, let's get, where am I? There I am. You can see I have some gorgeous buds right there. But what do you do if you have a blossom that you need to remove from your hydrangea? Let's say, for example, you have a blossom that looks like this. And let's come in here. This guy doesn't need to be left on the hydrangea. I can cut him off. He's hidden. He's not detracting from the beauty of the hydrangea. But let's get rid of him, because he actually could invite some fungus onto the plant. So, what we're going to do is we're going to come in. This leaf is really in the way. Now accepting applications for cameramen or women. Kidding, I don't have the money. I'll do my own. I know I'm babbling. Alright, we're going to come as tight as we can to the blossom. I'm coming underneath the little leaves that belong to the blossom, and I'm going to take my angled cut. Okay, that's all you have to do. Now I'll just put this blossom, this spent blossom, in my compost bin, and I'll be able to extract whatever energy is left from it to help feed my gardens for next year. Let's come around and look at my Endless Summer Original. I love the way these blossoms age. Again, they get that shabby chic coloring to them that makes them look antique-y. So I am not going to do anything to this plant. There is nothing that I need to remove. And that's one of the biggest things you have to think about. Do you actually have to remove the blossom? Because late summer is not the time to be pruning your hydrangeas. If you want to cut a blossom for drying, you're going to have to take fairly good length to the stem, and by doing that, you're going to cut off buds that the plant is setting for next blooming season. My advice, when it's late August, buy yourself some silk hydrangeas. Let's move on. I got a surprise. My summer crush bloomed on new wood. I wasn't expecting any blossoms this year, so I'm very happy. Nothing to cut off. I'm going to leave those and say, thank you, summer crush. This little fellow I purchased at Shaw's back at the beginning of the summer when the supermarket set up their little gardening center. She was absolutely beautiful. As you can see, she had vibrant purple blossoms and don't have a clue what she is. She is not Bloomstruck, and I will show you why I know that when I get to my Bloomstruck, which is right next to her. Right now, I don't have a clue what she is, what type of hydrangea, other than she's a mophead, macrophylla. The pot that she came in just said reblooming hydrangea. Well, it didn't say it, it had it printed on it. So it was reblooming hydrangea. There was no label, no nursery to give any indication where she came from. But she's doing really well. I'm not going to remove the blossoms. Sometimes when you aggressively get into a hydrangea and start deadheading it, you will affect how it sets its buds for the following spring, especially if you're deadheading late in the season. Leave the plant alone. Leave the spent blossoms. The birds will love you. They like to glean the insects from the blossoms. Even the ducks, if you have ducks, my ducks love to pull at the spent blossoms on my hydrangeas and get at the insects. So we're going to leave her alone. I'm not doing anything to her, but note the color of the stem. The color of the stems are green. Now let's come here to my Bloomstruck. My Bloomstruck had a tough year. She got hit with a fungus and she struggled, but she gave me lots of blossoms, which I was very grateful, and she's sending up some nice new growth. And if you look carefully, you can see that the stems are dark, and that's one way to tell Bloomstruck. And she's already setting buds. So I'm not going to do anything to this plant. I like the color of the spent blossoms. Again, they have that shabby chic look. If your hydrangea does end up with a copper fungus like this one has, and I'll do a video on what to do when you get fungus like this, but the best thing that you can do is to just snip off the leaves. This is my propagated piece from my Twist and Shout, and she gave me a couple of blossoms. I thank you. And she's doing really well. This is her second year in the garden, and next semester, oh gosh, yes, I'm a teacher by trade, so I'm thinking of semesters. My summer semester just ended. Next blooming season, I'm hoping to get more blossoms from her. If we come in, we can see that she's already setting buds for next year. So again, don't go doing any pruning. All right, let's come around here. This is my Invincible Spirit too, and she looked beautiful when she was in full bloom. You can deadhead smooth hydrangeas without doing any harm and losing any chance of blossoms for the following blooming season, but the return blossoms you get on a smooth hydrangea tend to be very small. I don't deadhead my smooth hydrangeas. I leave the blossoms for the birds and the ducks. They like to glean the blossoms, as I've been saying. The spent blossoms provide a habitat and provide food. They provide a habitat for various insects, and they provide food, thereby giving those insects to the birds. So I like to create a more natural environment in my yard, and I like to keep the spent blossoms. However, I did do an experiment, and I did deadhead a couple of the blossoms to see what I would get in return. And here you can see the size of the blossom I got. Not really worth it when I was getting blossoms like this originally. As I had mentioned in the previous video on pruning smooth hydrangeas, and I use this plant as my example, I planted this Invincible Spirit too for my sister who passed from ovarian cancer. I think her spirit is in my Invincible Spirit, because she gave me great blossoms. And I'm going to leave you here and end this part 1 of my August follow-up video for my hydrangeas, and I will see you in part 2. And until then, happy gardening.